Hey everyone, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. Today, we are talking about the Great Northern War. It sounds like something out of Game of Thrones, but it is all too real. So what is it? And who are the major players involved? Find out today, right here on the Watchman Newscast. Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, recently met with top officials from the terrorist group Hamas in Tehran. Now, during this meeting, Khamenei reportedly promised to supply Hamas with $30 million per month. $30 million per month into the pockets of a notorious terrorist group that's devoted to the destruction of Israel and has American blood on its hands. Now, Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, another deadly Iranian proxy based in Gaza, continue to be a thorn in Israel's side and have been for years. The problem to the south is a major problem, but I'm looking to Israel's north, specifically to Lebanon and Syria. I'm in Israel on the ground frequently, and folks, I can tell you, Israeli intel and military types are also looking north because they realize that the Great Northern War is coming. It's not a question of if, but when. And the major players involved will be the Iranian regime and its most deadly proxy, the terrorist army, Hezbollah. That's right. Hezbollah is not just a terrorist organization, which is bad enough. They are a fully functioning terrorist army, a paramilitary with some 60,000 well-trained and seasoned and battle-tested foot soldiers and at least 150,000 rockets and missiles pointed at every inch of the Jewish state. And remember, Israel is literally the size of the state of New Jersey. So, Iran has entrenched itself in Syria to Israel's northeast. You can see there on the map. The Iranian regime says, hey, we're in Syria to stay. We're a guest of Bashar al-Assad and that Assad regime, and they've welcomed in Shia fighters from places like Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iraq. They've all flocked to Syria under the Iranian banner. And of course, Iran has welcomed in its most lethal proxy, Hezbollah. Now, Hezbollah is a fully owned and created and funded subsidiary of the Iranian regime. They are based in southern Lebanon. They have a stranglehold on that region right to Israel's north. Folks, I can tell you, I spend a lot of time filming for the Watchman show on TBN on the Israel-Syria border, on the Golan Heights, and on the Israel-Lebanon border. Hezbollah and Iran are gearing up for something major. Back in December 2018, the Israel Defense Forces uncovered a terror tunnel network leading from southern Lebanon, Hezbollah land, into the towns of northern Israel, in particular the beautiful town of Metula, right on the Lebanon border. The IDF thankfully destroyed that terror tunnel network, but the leader of Hezbollah, Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, continues to insist that in a future conflict, in this future coming Great Northern War, Hezbollah will attempt to invade northern Israel with foot soldiers. So you won't just have the onslaught of rockets and missiles from Hezbollah. They will attempt a ground invasion. Nasrallah has talked about seizing and conquering the Galilee. Now, that's not going to happen. But picture this nightmare scenario. A few hundred Hezbollah fighters are able to cross from southern Lebanon into northern Israel and, God forbid, seize an Israeli town or village for even 10 minutes. 15 minutes. During that time, before the Israel Defense Forces respond with overwhelming force and wipe the terrorist out, during that time, Hezbollah is able to, say, plant that green and yellow Hezbollah flag on Israeli soil. The images beam out across the world. They go viral. All of a sudden, Hezbollah has a major propaganda victory, a propaganda coup. They will crow and they will say that they were able to conquer Israeli territory. They will beam those images, I can assure you, on Al-Manar, Hezbollah TV, Press TV, Iranian TV. Those images will go out far and wide. They're just waiting for orders. And they're waiting for orders from their Iranian master, which brings us to Syria. I mentioned a bit earlier that the Iranian regime has sunk its claws into Syria, and folks, they're not going anywhere. They've been very clear about that. They're trying to build a military infrastructure, military bases as the welcome guest of Bashar Assad. Look, they helped to save his regime along with Russia, which is also still in Syria, and also, by the way, not going anywhere. But Iran is trying to build this military infrastructure, particularly on the Golan Heights at Israel's doorstep. Now, Iran says it's not going anywhere, and on the other side, Israel says, we will not allow this. This is a red line, an Iranian base at our doorstep in Syria. Look, Gaza, Lebanon, Iranian proxies there, armed to the teeth. That's bad enough. But Syria, no way. It's a red line. And unlike some, the Israelis keep their red lines. So folks, what we have in Syria is a collision course between Israel and Iran and all of its various lethal terrorist proxies. We've seen this play out over the past year and a half in real time. Look, February 2018, Iran sent a drone into Israeli territory. The Israelis shot it down and responded by bombing Iranian targets inside Syria. Fast forward to May 2018, during the same week that the U.S. Embassy moved to Jerusalem, where it belongs. That same week, Iran fired some 32 missiles from Syrian territory into Israel. Now, thankfully, none of these missiles landed. Iron Dome shot most of them down. The others just did not land anywhere near Israeli population centers. They didn't do any damage. But this, like the Iranian drone entering Israeli airspace a few months previous, was an act of war. And Israel responded appropriately and with serious force, bombing several Iranian military installations throughout Syria. Message sent. Folks, Iran's leaders are committed to Israel's destruction. When they say death to Israel and death to America, they really, truly mean it. They have a radical genocidal ideology, and they will shape policy around that ideology. And look, if the 20th century, the century of Mao, Stalin, Hitler, Saddam, taught us anything, it's that when evil men tell you they want to kill you, you should believe them and take them at their word. The Iranian regime truly wants to wipe Israel off the map, and whether it's in Lebanon, Gaza, or Syria, they are taking active steps to make that a reality. Israel obviously will not stand for this, and that's why the Great Northern War is coming. Here's the good news. The God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, neither slumbers nor sleeps. He sees the plans of Iran and Hezbollah, and he laughs. Israel will be just fine. The Israel Defense Forces are training for this every day. I've been on live fire drills with the IDF on the Syria border there. They are ready. They know it's going to be a tough battle, but they're preparing for it. They know it's coming. And once again, folks, the question is not if it's coming, but when it's coming. That's why it's so important that you join our team at Christians United for Israel. Now, if you watch the Watchman show on TBN every week, and we encourage you to watch every Friday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, you know that Christians United for Israel is America's and probably the world's largest pro-Israel organization with over 7 million members as of August 2019. 7 million. And growing every day. For such a time as this, we've never seen a movement like this in the 2,000-year history of the church, but we have it today. Over 7 million committed followers of Jesus, standing openly, boldly, and shoulder to shoulder with Israel and the Jewish people. So number one, visit cufi.org and join this incredible movement for Zion's sake, for this moment in history as this great Northern War looms. Number two, subscribe to the Watchman Newscast. Hey, we're going to be here every week bringing you cutting-edge, breaking news and information, making sense of the world's most chaotic and complex region, the Middle East, and most importantly, explaining why it matters to you. Why should you care if you're in America, Europe, Asia, Africa, wherever you are? Why should you care not only about that region, but about this tiny country called Israel. How does it affect you and your family? Tune in to the Watchman Newscast every week to get the inside on-the-ground story. I'm in Israel every few months and I'm filming and I'm getting some great information that I'm going to share here with you every week on the Watchman Newscast. So please click, subscribe, and join us. Until next time from the Watchman Newscast, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.